Let's ask the Senate Republican Conference Chairman, Senator John Barrasso, for his take. Senator, good to have you back with us.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Okay, so I want to play something today. This is from Chairman Jerry Nadler of the House Judiciary Committee, one of the managers. Here's what he says today.
The American people have common sense. They know that any trial that does not allow witnesses is not a trial. It is a cover-up. The Speaker's insistence on this point has gotten results.
He says her holding those articles for weeks and weeks actually produced pressure on the Senate to start this conversation about witnesses. And he says if you guys don't vote for them and don't have them, this whole thing is a farce anyway.
Well, what they've done in the House is a farce. The House has already been found guilty of abuse in the sense that only 1 in 3 Americans believe that what happened in the House has been fair, has been even-handed. Because the president wasn't able to face his accuser. The hearings were held behind closed doors. People and the press were kept out. And the president did not have due process. Justice will be done in the Senate. We will hear from the House managers. We will hear from the White House. Members of the Senate will be then able to ask questions of both of those groups by writing questions to the Chief Justice, who will get those and present those questions. And then we'll make a decision at that point as to whether we need witnesses or not. That's how they did it when President Clinton was impeached in 1999. That's how we're going to do it following the Clinton model.
Okay, so speaking of the Clinton model, Adam Schiff, who is the chairman of the House Intel Committee, also the lead manager on this whole thing, says today that there are some differences with the Clinton model and when it comes to witnesses and other things. Here's what he says.
The White House has been sitting on hundreds and hundreds of documents that they refuse to release to Congress. The senators should demand them. If they're going to follow the Clinton model, which they really haven't, all of those documents were turned over before the trial.
Okay, so what is the duty of the Senate? What's the duty of the House as far as fact-finding, putting things together before it comes to you? Are you all to continue investigating based on what the House has given you? How does this work?
No, you look at the Constitution. The House is to put together a case and then present that in the articles of impeachment to the Senate. And the Senate is then to sit and say yes or no, guilty or not guilty of those arguments and that case that you presented. With regard to witnesses, we're going to make a decision at a later time after we hear what the House has to say and what the Senate has to say. Well, it comes down to what 51 senators want to do. After we've heard from everyone and had our own questions answered, then the question is, have we heard enough? Have we heard enough to make a final decision on this? Or do we need to drag out this trial by bringing in more and more witnesses from both sides? If the House managers want to call in witnesses, I'm sure the White House is going to want to call in a different group of witnesses. But every day we spend on this, Shannon, is time we're not doing the work of the American people in terms of fighting to lower the cost of prescription drugs, in terms of dealing with issues of the border, in terms of, I'm chairman of the committee that oversees the highway bill. We need to fix our roads and bridges and tunnels. This stops all of those things.
Okay, I want to take a look at some of the sights and sounds today. There was a signing ceremony. There were a number of pens that had the speaker's name on them. They were lined up. And as you do when you sign a bill, I mean, there's one stroke after another. And one pundit said, normally when you do these kinds of things and you're having a big bill signing, it's to celebrate something. And they thought maybe the tone was a little bit off here with people celebrating. You see Congresswoman Maxine Waters holding up her pen. The critics include people over at CNN, or at least they had questions about this. Here's what they said.
It was unusual to see that kind of ceremony and making, handing out the pens and smiling for a picture in
weeks, and the American public has seen through it. It has been a political stunt, and the American people know it.
Well, we don't think it's over in the House because Chairman Nadler, among others, has said these investigations will continue when they find evidence like they did the last couple of days. They'll continue to release that. we'll see how this all works together as you become a juror officially sworn in tomorrow and then next week on the case. Senator, good to have you.
Justice is going to be done in the Senate.
Okay.
Mark my words.
All right, we
Thanks.
will. Okay, the reality of a pending